Hey guys, how's it going? So, if you haven't heard already, the Facebook stock a couple days ago just tanked. In one day, we saw approximately 20% down in one day, and I think that was somewhere around like $130 billion in market cap loss in one day. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen tomorrow here. But I just finished listening to the conference call, and I wanted to explain to you guys a couple of reasons why I'm actually buying. Not too long ago, I made a video on why I was selling. Things changed quickly. I had made some money. I'll actually put a link in the top right-hand corner to that video right now. Um, but now things have changed, and I've looked into the company a little bit more, and it's sparked my interest quite a bit. So here's a couple of the things that stood out to me. Some of this is pretty basic, but if you didn't already know, revenue grew by 42% year over year. So it was 13.2 billion in the second quarter. Now that's a huge. I mean, this is a key point right here. That's a huge increase, right? And you can't expect to see those kind of growth rates continue. We had 5.1 billion dollars in net income. Very good. This is another key point here. 1.47 billion people using it every day, so that was up 11%. So you think about the amount of eyes that are on Facebook or in Instagram as well, and we'll get to that. Also very key, the price of ads grew by 17%. In respect to Instagram, he's saying that, I believe it was Zuckerberg who was saying that there's now 1 billion active members on Instagram. That's a ton of people. Some other things that are very impressive with the company is they now have 42 billion in cash and investments, so they've got a lot of money to fall back on. They're not only making a lot, but they got a lot of money to fall back on, and they're buying back stock, 3.2 billion last quarter, which is something I always love to see, which drives EPS and should make the stock cheaper, right? So you might be asking yourself, if you haven't already looked into this, why do we see this huge drop? Don't mind my my rating here. I quickly wrote this here. The problem is that for the remainder of the year, they're expecting revenue growth to decline, and that's something that's very shocked investors. One of the main things that they're talking about is currency headwinds. They saw the benefit of that last quarter, but now I guess they're expecting the opposite. So that's going to be adversely affecting revenue growth. This is also stories here. They're also focusing on stories. I was listening to a conference call. They're focusing a lot on video, which I do think is the right move, because a lot of people are now choosing to consume video instead of reading articles or what have you, right? And the problem is with this, that we've kind of seen with different issues before in the past, is how do you monetize different things? Facebook, when it first went public, the issue that they had was, how do you monetize mobile? And people were very concerned about that. So right now they're saying that there's lower levels of monetization for stories, so that's going to adversely affect revenue growth. Also, this one is probably the worst that I can imagine here, is the privacy settings. Now, we heard about the Cambridge Analytica issues, things like that. They're giving users more options now, which is a good thing, to protect their privacy, and that also might adversely affect revenue growth. In addition to that, they expect 50 to 60% increase in expenses in 2018. And again, that's kind of related to safety, which is what I was talking about with privacy, but also some very good things like focuses on VR, AR, and again, like I said, the stories. So a lot of people looked at this and they thought, wow, like, I'm done with this stock. I mean, and I think that all the old time investors, Wall Street, saw this as absolutely the worst news possible. But I really think if you look at the stock in terms of its actual value here, like, it's trading at 24 times earnings. If you look at its forward earnings, I'm sure it's 20 or less. For a company that's making this much money, for a company that has this much potential ahead of it. And I think some of these little tidbits in here are what prove that they do have that. Traditional TV is dead. I mean, we've seen the consolidation of the media companies like Disney buying Fox, how popular Netflix is, and look at the multiple that Netflix is trading at. And when you have this many eyes on Facebook, which I do think Facebook Facebook is actually declining in terms of its popularity. I think there's been some studies that people are moving to Instagram. But wait, Instagram is also owned by Facebook, right? And we're seeing a lot of that right here with the pricing of the ads growing. Because after all those billions and billions of dollars are eventually going to end up they're going to end up out of TV ads, newsprint, things like that people don't even read anymore, people don't look at. They're going to come to online platforms where people's eyes are, right? And where are most people's eyes? Instagram, Facebook. Nobody's coming for Facebook. Nobody's coming for Instagram. I really can't see that. And when you have these kinds of numbers of people, I mean, there might be some short-term issues with, revenue growth and expenses increasing, but they're looking out far in the future. They're looking to the, past 2020, 21, 22. I mean, that's what they're looking at, and I think that's the right way to go about it, right? And I think there's just tremendous opportunity in this company. And if you can buy it at these cheap levels, and it's not as expensive as a Netflix or something like that, I think it's a no-brainer. So I did add to it. I added to it it was about 170 something here. I can't remember. I think it was basically where it's at right now. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, within the next week or so. I think maybe it might fall a bit more. I don't know. But if it does, I'll definitely be adding more to it. So I'm very curious what your guys' thoughts are. I mean, especially in respect to, what's going to be happening with advertising. Do you think that the traditional way of people consuming media is changing enough that advertisers are going to start focusing more on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, these types of company, or do you think there's still going to be a lot of money tied up in, television and stuff like that? Love to hear that. Give the video a like, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.